Now I'm recording. Sorry about that, guys. So here's the deal. What we're going to do is I'm going to do a wrong one. Wrong one would be something like this. 1, 3, 7, 8, 2, 3, 8. You don't do that. Okay. So that's wrong. Don't do it. Correct? Correct. That's a check mark. That's acceptable. That's acceptable. Let's see if you have any questions on union.
I'm good.
Very good. And thank you for sharing that you're good. All right, guys, let's see if we can move on. And guess what? The next one we're going to do has a union, has an empty set. Now, I'm going to ask you guys to tell me what you think the answer is. So if I do 34 and 33 is very similar. Okay, it says empty, ignore it. Okay, it's basically a set with the letters E-M-T-Y. Okay, union means you're going to put all the elements from the first set and all the elements from the second set in the same pot. So who's going to tell me what the answer to this question is? Anybody? Just verbally tell me.
It'd be empty as well, wouldn't it?
Correct. But when you say empty, what do you mean?
Empty as the letters.
Very good. They're trying to kind of trick us, right? It won't be empty, but it will have the letters in the word empty. E-M-P-T-Y. Okay, again, union is basically you're going to take the elements from both sets, put it in the same pot. In the first set, I have 5 letters, E-M-P-T-Y. I put it all there. And from the second set, I have nothing to choose. It's empty. So the answer is, yeah, when you say it, it sounds like, you know, you're confusing people. Not you. They're just playing games with us. But you get the point. Are we okay with this, guys?
Yes.
Awesome. Like, what do you think this one will be? I'm not going to do it. What do you think this one will be? A-E-I-O-U and M. Number 33 on the screen. What do you think the answer is? Anybody wants to tell us? Number 33.
A-E-I-O-U.
There you go. Awesome. Thank you, guys. All right. Okay. This is going to throw us a little bit, but it's really not that bad. We went over the definition of absolute value last class. I know it's a little funky and all that. So basically, once again, absolute value, well, let's do it right here. Let's do it right here. So guys, we're going to use this definition today. Conceptually, absolute value of -2 is +2. Absolute value of +2 is +2. Absolute value of 0 is 0. So absolute value of a positive number or 0 is just itself. And absolute value of a negative number is positive. Now, you could argue, now these two are very easy. Okay, there's nothing going on. So somebody could say, well, it's easy to say in English, you just ignore, but in math, you have to be a little more specific. So what they're claiming here, guys, they're doing this. They're saying, if I ask you to find the absolute value of a negative number, you just multiply it by an extra negative number and they cancel and the answer is 2. So that's kind of how they're defining it. No big deal. No big deal. So that's a little bit of review, background, all those things. So I'm going to actually, well, I don't want to keep all my windows, then I don't want my computer to crash, but let me see. I'm going to get rid of it. So let's bring this guy. Let's bring this guy. So, okay. You can, of course, if you don't know some of these things, like square root of 5. Let me see. Okay. Now, of course, you'll have your calculator, right? However, you don't need it all the time. So square root of 5, I know square root of 9 is 3. So I know square root of 5 has to be less than 3. It's 2 point something. And 13 is more than 2 point something. So I know what's inside is a negative number. Now, if you don't believe me, you can enter everything in your calculator. You don't care about the answer. You just want to show me that it is negative. And I am going to convince you. Well, I have a nice calculator here. I'll show you. So number, calculate, square root of 5. It's 2.23. I don't know how well you can see. It's kind of small. I can't magnify it. So square root of 5 is 2.23. So that tells me, guys, that tells me square root of 5 minus 13 is a negative number. What's our rule when we find this absolute value? To remove the absolute value bars, you're going to do it like this. You're going to say it's negative. So I'm going to stick a minus sign here. That's the rule. If it was positive, you would just remove the bars. You would say I'm done. So what happens, guys, if you have a minus sign outside the parentheses, this sign changes to, every sign inside changes. Okay, once again, if you have a negative sign outside, this is plus, this will be minus, and this is a minus, this will become a plus. What is that supposed to mean? Well, that means you're going to rewrite it like this. And you can leave it like that. Anybody will give you full credit. Most people would write it like this because it looks prettier. Again, to remove the absolute value, you have to first decide, is it negative or positive? Well, you have your calculator. You can always use your knowledge of math. If it's negative, you remove the absolute value and stick a negative sign and do a little algebra. Done. All right. You just have to tell me, hey, repeat that or I don't get it, but I'm gonna move on. But again, don't be shy. Awesome. So let's see what else is going on. I'm gonna do one where it's positive. Okay. This one is clearly, I'll tell you why I'm saying clearly positive. This one is positive. I know 7 is 7 and pi is 3.142. So 7 minus 3.142 is positive. So, well, that's easy. You just ignore the absolute value sign if it's positive. That's your answer. Done. Positive, if the number between the absolute value lines, vertical lines, if the number is positive or 0, you just ignore it like the absolute value wasn't there. If it's negative, you remove the absolute value and stick a negative sign. All right, so let's try a couple of these, okay? Maybe this. It's not really that bad. Let's try 59. I think 59 and 60 are the same, are very similar. All right, guys. Now, don't let the double absolute values bother you. Pretend they're like parentheses. Work on them first. And it's not that bad. So this first one, you need to find the absolute value of -3. Keep this intact. Okay. Absolute value of -3 is +3. Keep this minus here. Absolute value of -7 is +7. And the external absolute value, I didn't mess with it. So I recopied them on line 2. Now ask yourself, what's 3 minus 7? The answer is -4. Everybody knows that. Don't worry about this. We haven't done anything with it. Now I'm going to be a little formal. So how do we find the absolute value of -4? Well, we all know it's +4, but we're going to be a little formal. We're going to say, well, when you remove the absolute value, you stick a negative sign because what's inside the absolute value is negative. So you do it like this. And the answer is 4. Now, if you were, I know you're taking the exam online, You would give me the answer. Either it'll be multiple choice or you'll have to enter the answer as 4. Do you have to show me all the work? The answer is no. If you were sitting in my class and you were taking a physical exam, I would give you points if you jumped. I don't care, but it's something you should know why we do it. So that kind of, well, I'm going to pause there for a little bit, but if I'm not, we'll have one little chunk to do. I'll do some of them, but other than that, well, I shouldn't say that, but let's pause there a little bit. See if you have any questions about absolute value chunk. All right, guys, moving on. So I think we have one more section. Let me go back and check the total, the problems I assigned according to our little cheat sheet or homework assignment 85 through 96. So let's do some of those. Okay, we have a couple of those here, and these will come in very handy actually, guys. So let's simplify some of them. I'm gonna do one easy one and then one from the bottom. And you can always tell me, could you do that? I tried it, I couldn't do it. That's totally acceptable. So I'm going to take this guy and work on this. Same, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally applies. So I am going to work on parentheses. So first I'm going to multiply, distribute 2 over like so. Okay, what is that supposed to mean? 2 times 5 is 10x. Don't write -1. 2 times -1 or 2 times -1 is -2 plus 14x. 10x plus 14x. Okay, it's called combining the like terms. You cannot add 10 to 2. 10x plus 14x are called like terms. 10 plus 14 is 24. And -2, done. So that's our 88. All right, guys. All right, so let's see. One so-called ugly one, okay? Let's try 96. It's really not that ugly. All right, same kind of a rule. You distribute stuff, work on the parentheses first. So always rewrite the things you're not dealing with right now. Okay, very carefully. I'm going to rewrite this square bracket. 7 times x squared is 7x squared. 7 times -2 is -14. And don't forget the 4. Okay, so it's much better. It's a little better. All right. Again, I have to work on the square bracket first. I am going to rewrite this. It's a good habit because you're not going to be able to collect the like terms if you miss out. All right. I don't have any x squared terms. So my 7, I'm going to put this parenthesis, 7x squared stays here. -14 and +4 is -10. Much better. Now, I have a negative sign outside the parenthesis. So let me see. So I have to change the sign here and the sign. This is minus. I have to change the sign here. How do we do that? So we're going to go here. 14x squared plus 5 minus 7x squared. And if you don't change the sign, your answer will be incorrect. This minus and this minus, you have to change the sign. So this minus right here with the green little cross becomes plus. Much better. 14x squared, 14x squared and 7 squared are like terms. And 5 and 10 are also like terms, like L-I-K-E, right? Not light. So 14x squared plus, sorry, 14x squared minus 7x squared is 7x squared. And 5 plus 10 is 15. I'm going to pause here a little bit. I'm going to check my math. I think I've done it correctly, but I do make mistakes. If you catch anything, just say, hey, did you want to put a minus sign there? Always say it. So let me double check, but that's my answer, 7x squared plus 15. I think that's right. So guys, this officially concludes P1. You really should be able to do all the problems from your MATLAB. They're really the same problems, okay? Very similar. You should be able to do them, and we have done them kind of formally when it came to absolute value. You know, if it's negative, you stick an extra negative sign that takes care of the negative sign and makes it positive. So we have done it formally, and we are done with P1. I'll pause for a couple of additional minutes to see if you have any questions.
Okay, so in terms of the questions that have X, will we ever try and solve for X?
Good question. In this section, the answer is no, you won't.
Okay.
We are barely scratching the surface. We will do it in this class, but certainly not in this section, okay?
All right.
And that's a good question. It just says simplify, so you're just simplifying.
Okay. All right.
All right.
I just didn't know if I had to go the extra mile for the P1 and for the MATLAB.
No, you don't have to. And look, if I wanted you to solve it, I would put equal to 5. If there's no equal sign anywhere, you won't be able to solve it. So it's just simplify. And it's a good question because you always want to read what they're asking you to do. And on the exam, I will say simplify. If I say simplify, you don't have to solve. If I say solve for X, I will say it on top. And we will do it, I think, in chapter 1. Okay.
Okay.
Wonderful. So we're actually doing okay with the whole thing shutting down on us. So why don't we do this, guys? Why don't we do this? Why don't we, we're not leaving, we're not going home. We are gonna work on P2, okay? So let's take it's not a break really. I'm gonna come back right away, but we're gonna record the next session. And if anybody catches me that I'm not recording, please say so. So let's get out of here. See you really soon, okay?